Good evening. I would like to call the March 2nd, 2020 meeting of the Lenoir County Board of Education to order. And I would like to ask Mr. Harvey for our invocation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. May the words spoken in this room tonight be beneficial to the students, parents, staff, and administrators in our school system. And may we be led by the guiding principle to always base our decisions on the best interests of our young people. Amen.
Thank you. Everyone, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now I recognize Superintendent Williams for our approval of our agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my honor and privilege tonight to present to you for your consideration and hopefully your approval of tonight's agenda.
Motion to approve the board agenda as presented.
A motion by Mr. Hill.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bogan. No questions or discussion. If all in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Board chair comments. Just a couple things. We have some extremely important athletic events tomorrow night for a couple of our teams. I would like to wish them well. Very exciting games so far, and they are deep in the playoffs now. So I'd like to wish all of them just well, not luck, because they're better than luck. They're a very good team. So wish them well. And just quickly. Not everyone in this room can vote tomorrow, but there's a lot of you that can. If you haven't already, please do. We have a very important year this year for elections, from national to state to local, all the way down to our school board. We have some seats up this year for our school board. So I'd like to wish all the candidates well tomorrow, and I hope everyone will go out and vote if you're eligible to vote. So please do. And now we'll turn it over to Superintendent Williams for our announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is March. The year is moving along. Our teachers and our students are working very hard. I see a lot of our kids and our parents and our grandparents and other loved ones in the audience. I want to welcome you tonight as we honor and showcase many of the young people here. I do want to say to you, when we recognize the young person that you are here to support, your loved one, when they come up and we clap for them, I would like for you to stand as well so we can recognize you, because we know it's a team effort. Those of us who are parents and grandparents and guardians of the children, we know that it takes us all to get it done around the kitchen table right and to get these projects completed and the homework assignments on a nightly basis. So we appreciate you for what you do for them day in and day out. March 1st through the 7th has been designated in North Carolina as National Severe Weather Preparedness Week in North Carolina. Our statewide tornado drill in observance of this week we'll be talking with the students and staff members about emphasizing our procedures that we've already trained on for severe weather preparedness. We will specifically be focusing on tornado awareness and the differences between a watch and a warning and working through those levels of preparation and response. And on Wednesday, the state will conduct a statewide tornado drill at 9:30 a.m. So we'll be coordinating that with all of our schools. One of the largest stories right now, news stories across the world, is COVID-19, the coronavirus, and we certainly are, even though no documented cases have appeared in North Carolina to date, we certainly are watching it very closely. It's a significant concern. We are getting our information from the Centers for Disease Control, or the CDC, and we're working with state and local officials to not only post on our website and get information out to you, our internal public and our parents, but also the larger public as well, and working with the media through Mr. Holmes, our public information officer. What are we doing internally? We're doing all that we can. We're trying to sanitize all surfaces to an even greater degree and more frequently. We're trying to work with the students on emphasizing best practices, including the importance of hand washing. We all know that, but certainly re-emphasizing that. There's not too much we can do other than diligence, vigilance in practicing preparation procedures to the greatest degree we can, and then watching and monitoring and reporting as effectively as we can. We'll be sending out a statement tomorrow to parents, and certainly we have the information already posted on our website, and we encourage you to access it there. We'll also be sending it through social media to you for your information as well. Tonight, it is my honor and privilege to recognize some of our young people. Lenoir County Public Schools had its best ever showing in the Region 10 Science Olympiad competition for middle schools and high schools, both public and private, from southeastern North Carolina, held February 15th at Lenoir Community College. Now, it's particularly special to me because just 5 years ago, only 3 of our schools had ever participated in Science Olympiad. But we made it a priority, our principals made it a priority, our teachers made it a priority, our students have made it a priority, and they've worked on this. And we've gone from only 3 schools ever participating total, some one per year. And this has been hosted for many years at LCC, but yet Lenoir County had very limited participation. We've totally turned that around, and 17 out of 17 of our schools not only participate, but for the last 3 years, we have had a very strong showing, even dominating at the regional level. And this is schools all the way from Brunswick County out to Carteret County and over to Sampson County and Clinton City and back up around Greene County and over to Pitt and Craven. So very proud of our young people for their showing, and very proud of our staff members and teachers for the extra effort represented in these awards. 33 student teams from 6 of our schools earned top 5 finishes. First place awards went to Dawson Tyndall and Ryan Williams of South Lenoir High School. And I'm going to call the names, and if our first place winners would come up, and we'll stand up here, and then I'll ask our board chair and vice chair to help me recognize them. Guys, we have certificates for you, and then Mr. Holmes would like to get a picture as well. And when they come forward and we clap for them, I would like for the parents to stand, or parents or other loved ones here with them to stand so we can recognize you as well. And the teachers and the principals as well, please. Mr. Gardner, yes, you too. He says no, but the teachers are part of this deal too. All right, let's give them a round of applause. Guys, if you would stay right there. Isaiah Howard and Tanner Jones of Woodington Middle School. Marwan Abadani and Jamison Estep from Rochelle Middle School. And Maddie White and Jenna Van of Contentnia Savannah's JV team. North Lenoir High School logged 9 top 5 finishes and placed 5th overall in the high school division. Lenoir County Early College High School won the Spirit Award in the high school division, and Woodington Middle School won the Spirit Award for middle schools. In short, it was a very big day for our student scientists and engineers. Congratulations to all of our winners, all the teachers, all the principals, and other teammates. Let's give them another round of applause. Maddie, congratulations. And Jenna, congratulations. And proud of you.
Thank you very much.
And proud of you, sir. So remember, folks, 5 years ago, very limited participation, and now not only strong participation, but the greatest, they have the greatest showing, strongest showing in the history of the school system with Science Olympiad. So let's give them another.
Good job, guys.
So very proud of these young people and all of their hard work, proud of the science immersion, proud of the success that they're demonstrating. So speaking of STEM, 4 students from South Lenore High School and 3 students from Contentnia Savannah K-8 School won honors in the North Carolina TSA Eastern Regionals held recently in Goldsboro, the Technology Student Association. In middle school competition, Zachary Owens of Contentnia Savannah School finished first in the flight event, and teammates Allison Manning and Rebecca Corneliuson won a second place medal in children's stories. South Lenore students Luke Yarber and Parker White took 3rd place in the high school technology bowl event, and teammates Billy Henson and Ashton Williams finished 3rd in high school technology problem solving. TSA, or Technology Student Association, is a national organization of students who are enrolled in or who have completed technology education courses. Now, Lenore County doesn't have a long and storied association with TSA, but this is another example of our teachers and our students pushing forward, pushing the envelope, going out, trying to get extra opportunities and experiences for our young people. I couldn't be more proud of them. Let's give them a round of applause. Parker. And Billy. Billy, congratulations. Ashton, congratulations.
Okay, can we get the middle school focus and stuff, probably the front row?
The annual LCPS Spelling Bee went 17 rounds with spelling. Let me say that again, 17 rounds. If you've been to these spelling bees, these sometimes are grueling rounds that our kids are going through. 17 rounds. Let's imagine ourselves as adults up there. Sometimes I think we might not fare as well as they do. These kids are amazing. 17 rounds with spelling champs from 12 elementary and middle schools, before finally crowning a winner. The overall winner was Rachel Noble, a 7th grader from Woodington Middle School. If Ms. Noble would come forward, let's give her a round of applause. And if her parents would stand, thank you. All right. But it does take us all, doesn't it? Yes. Wesley Vernon of Southwood Elementary School. Rachel, stay. Wesley Vernon of Southwood Elementary School, a 5th grader, finished first runner-up, and second runner-up was Alexa Hudson, a 7th grader from Contentia, Savannah. So Wesley has come forward. Let's give him a round of applause. And Alexa is here. Let's recognize her as well. Great job, guys. I think if we put you up against some of these adults out here, I think you might fare very well.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Great job. Wesley, congratulations. Proud of you. Great job. Alexa.
So, take about 3 steps back. There you go.
E-X-C-E-L-L-E-N-T.
Wes, turn your, Wes, turn your.
All right. You ready? 1, 3. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. Great. Thank you.
Great job. Tonight it's my honor to recognize 2 of our student athletes. 2 North Lenoir High School wrestlers have had terrific seasons. Elijah Swinson and Chris Russell took first place in the regionals February 15th and went into state competition ranked highly. Elijah was number 1 in the 220-pound division, and Chris was number 3 in the 285-pound division. Both wrestled well at the state tournament, and Elijah earned all state honors. And in a first for North Lenoir High School, both have been invited to wrestle in the national championship tournament in March. Let's give them a round of applause. I said before the audience might not fare well in the spelling competition. Elijah, congratulations. I'm proud of you. Chris, congratulations. Proud of you guys.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Great. Thanks a lot.
And as our chairman said, congratulations to all who were honored here tonight. As our chairman said, it is a busy week of postseason play. We have 2 girls basketball teams in the playoffs. North Lenoir High School girls team will be moving on and playing tomorrow night, and also the Kinston High School girls team and the Kinston High School boys team, and we are really expecting big things out of all of them. I hope you're invited to come out and see those games, board members and others in the audience. I hope you will. And it's a very exciting time for athletics in Lenoir County Public Schools. Mr. Chairman, thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Superintendent Williams. Any public comments? Okay, no comments. Move to our presentation portion of our program or agenda, our Digital Learning Student Showcase. Ms. Lynch.
Okay, thanks Elementary Schools with us tonight let me start again. Banks Elementary School's Digital Learning Specialist, Ashley Hood, along with 2nd grade teacher, Ms. Dawn Hill, will showcase curriculum-focused coding activities. Students in Mrs. Hill's 2nd grade class are participating in the LCPS Elementary Coding Cohort. Students will share samples of their learning from the current unit on looping and what that means in coding. and how it applies to their real world and their classroom curriculum. Joining us are students Bryce Harrison, Catherine Murphy, Kenzie Carson, Bentley Jarman, and Evan Hall. Come on down.
And as these guys are coming forward, I want to point out another significant milestone for us in our journey to excellence. Lenore County will have 2 teams of teachers presenting this week on coding at the NC Ties conference, and we're really excited about that. And our teachers have a deep, wide history of presenting there. So this is truly special. Our kids have been and presented there at a state level conference, and that's significant. These are big steps forward for our district, and I'm so pleased and so proud of that. We were talking with Ms. Lynch today and senior staff about it, about what our kids can do. But it's not just the methodologies of coding. This formula plus that formula equals this. We're working on the creative side of it and how to make it fun, interesting, and engaging while also carrying forth that learning. Okay. Hey guys, how are y'all?
So, like Ms. Herring said, these guys are from our 2nd grade coding and fluent work class, and it's been really amazing to watch their learning and their way that they have connected the coding language and the problem-solving approach to the real world and to what they're doing in their classroom curriculum and learning. So it's really important to realize that the posture of trying and failing and retrying and rethinking and maybe failing again and collaborating with each other and all that has transferred and encouraged us all into a growth mindset in this classroom. So I learn from them every single time we work together, and I just get really excited to see their creativity. This is transferred to things that we've done on the device, unplugged with robotics, all different kinds of ways, and they are making these connections themselves. So I'm going to step aside and let them share with you what they wanted to share with you tonight and the presentation that we put together together. So we'll start with, slide 2.
Coding is telling computer what to do. We have used coding in many ways in our classroom. It helped us learn how to do things on our own. It helped us learn new things that we haven't learned in school, like robotics and writing code. When you look for an answer, you might find the right answer, but you keep trying things over again to see which is the best answer. If you don't get it right, we learn to try to figure out what we did wrong and try it over and keep trying and trying until you get it right. You can get help from each other too. Command is a specific action that a computer performs. The first coding activity we did was to read commands in coding language, to take a selfie and mark it up in photos. The teacher said we could talk to each other, but we couldn't ask the adults any questions. If we missed a step, it wouldn't work. We tried to program Miss Hood to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. If we told her wrong because we didn't give specific commands, it was a mess. We thought about real-world examples of commands and realized that commands are when your parents tell you to do something. They have to follow rules where they work. When you get in the car to go somewhere, you put your seatbelt on. At school, the teacher has classroom rules, and even there are rules on the playground, in the library, in PE. The iPad has rules on the back, and we have the bank's best expectations.
this has videos, but it doesn't have any sound, so. Go ahead.
Sequence is the order in which things happen, like patterns and events. We thought about examples of sequence: your daily schedule, toothbrushing, the way that you get to school each day, 3-digit subtraction with regrouping, the water cycle. We studied sound and how the ear sequence to work to hear. We worked as a group to order the order of events in a fairy tale and then tell back the story, including the moral of the story. We used robots to travel the path of the Mayflower from England to the New World. We used keynotes to put in sequence the way we get dressed. Is an instruction to repeat a set of commands a certain number of times or forever. We thought about examples of looping, like a clock when we were learning to tell time, repeating when we were learning about poetry, how the seasons loop every year, things that our parents do to start the car, dancing and exercising. We use Keynote to create GIFs that loop to tell what we knew about solid, liquids, and gases when we were studying that in science. These helped us to remember the information for our test. When we were using coding programs, we realized that we can make the coding block shorter when we use a looping command. There are many ways to write code, but you want to write it in a way that is the shortest for when you need to go back in and work on it and figure out where things go wrong, because they will go wrong. When we use coding programs, we get to retry when we mess up. Actually, if I had another block to use, I could have put a loop inside the loop to tell it to repeat the walking until the other command had happened and she got to the making. The art teacher helped us to understand looping when we drew an owl using code. We had commands and loops to follow. These are some of our drawings. I think we did pretty good. We used Scratch Junior app to write our own looping programs. We learned how to have two characters move on the screen. We also learned how to make the characters talk. We hope to use this more and create digital stories about things that we are learning in the classroom. We want to invite you right now to get out your phones and follow us on Twitter and interact with us as we learn to code. Who knows, we might be writing apps for you one day. We also want to thank you for giving us the chance to learn to code and to have devices to learn that on.
So Bentley, Evan, Bryce, Catherine, Kinsey. Great job, guys. I have a question. Is coding fun? Because we know it's work. It's a lot of fun too. That's what I got from your presentation. And Kinsey, I want to say, all of you did a great job, but I have a question for Kinsey. Kinsey, I don't think that there are a lot of people at this table, no names, I'm one of them actually, who doesn't know how to do GIFs. You were talking about those, but you guys can do that, so you're a leg up on a lot of adults right there. So great job, guys. Let's give them a round of applause. And thank you to your teachers for all that you're doing with them.
Thank you, Banks. Lenore County Early College will discuss their Digital Learning Day activities during the week of February 24th. These activities include coding, robotics, virtual reality, green screen, and games. The Tech Team Club sponsored these events and are looking forward to showcasing the experience. Joining us are students Honesty Pridgeon, Caitlin Mender, Ronald Spruill, along with Digital Learning Specialist Belinda McGinnis. Welcome, Early College.
Love the t-shirts, guys. Great job.
Phoenix.
for a low price, well surprised.
Good advertising.
I see you're studying marketing.
That's for sure. Yeah. That's for sure.
Good evening.
Evening.
Last week we celebrated Digital Learning Day. It was on Thursday, but we spread it out. We had so many different activities that we wanted to explore that we spread it out over 3 days. On Monday, we did coding with the Tinker app. On Wednesday, we did a dash and dot maze race. We turned it into like a Super Bowl type of activity. And on Thursday, we did some VR exploration and some green screen. We ran out of time and didn't get to do the Kahoot, but we did all these activities during our lunch period so that we can include as many students as possible. With me, I have my tech team. I have Caitlin, Honesty, and Ron, and I'm going to let them go through and explain some of the activities that we've done and different ways that they are using technology.
So on Monday, we started out with Tinker, which is what I saw the little ones using. So if y'all want to help me with my homework. But basically, it's a coding application that you can have all sorts of characters, and you have to program them to do the action required for that level, for that part.
On Thursday, we did green screen technology, and this allows you to have a different backdrop of images or videos that you can use. For Earth Science, we used a video of an earthquake in the background and made it look like we were standing in the middle of an earthquake doing a newscast. To celebrate Digital Learning Day, we put students in front of a green screen and they had no idea what their background was. The other students gave them clues of what was behind them. Ron, placed in front of the Jurassic Park T-Rex, was getting chased inside of the Jeep, and it was a lot of fun trying to get him to figure out what was happening.
That might have been fun for you guys, but that was certainly not fun for me. Anyway, we're now going to demonstrate the robot Super Bowl, which is one of the activities that we did. And we would like some of the volunteers from Banks to help us with that. And at the end, at either end, there's going to be a quarterback, and then we'll have one of us as the coaches to help them, and then we'll have one of us as the referee. So I think Kate will be the referee for that, to sort of help see whether or not they hit the obstacles, because there are some violations for that and certain stipulations for that too.
So Ron, you sacrificed for this originally, right?
Yes.
Good job.
And so we have two teams. So honestly, you want to do that one? Well, there. See, even Dash likes to say that. So while they're getting that set, the goal is to make it to the other end for the other team. And during our learning digital learning day celebration, we have the players turn around whenever they went out of bounds or they hit one of the obstacles up here. And so it kind of makes the quarterback harder to code because they can't see the field. And so they're relying more on their teammates to guide them in the right direction for that. And so it makes it more challenging and fun. And it also, the coding language and block is also very user friendly. So it also is very simple. Trying to invite you to do it, if you're going to start with coding, to help you kind of get that going.
Our board members, I think, would be happy to.
I'm just saying the boys teaming up against the girls.
But it demonstrates the planning process that you have to take, and you sort of have to think someone was ahead of what you're going to do to try to time it out.
She said, hey, there's 3 boys. No, come on, guys. Come on.
I'll speak to that. You guys give our teammates some encouragement.
Okay, guys.
Let's see.
So on both of the screens over here, you'll be able to see what codes they're doing for which robot as they go through the obstacle course.
And just so that everybody knows, Ron, can you elaborate on that, the code up here, because that's the real learning. This is the fun reinforcement representation of learning, but that's the real learning. Can you explain to them what that is?
So basically, whenever you're seeing the robots do down here, is basically what they're putting the codes in for them, and those commands would be what that robot calls and what they're implementing. So whatever they whatever code they put in, so say like 4, 15 normal, so that'll be normal speed and go 50 seconds. So then whenever they press start, that's what the codes will see there, and that will be when it will transfer to the robot, and the robot will read that system.
Outstanding.
Mr. McGinnis, thank you for broadcasting. If anybody's wondering, it's live.
We have a Team Sour Patch on the left, a Team Skittles on the right.
Kids like that.
And what we did during the activities last week, as a student went out of bounds or knocked something over, we had them turn around so that they weren't completely reliant on their team in order to code through the rest of the field.
They're not even on the field. You sit down here, yes.
Just gotta get back on that.
You want to say congratulations to Team Sauer?
Team Sour Patch, I thought you were out, and then you came back. This is just like NC State versus Duke. These are Wolfpack haters here. I'm ready. Okay.
Tell us how you really feel.
Good job, Rob.
Great job, guys.
Good job.
Question. Yeah, the girl got it.
So Ron, Honesty, and Caitlin, that counts toward the end. So I think we might have actually had a tie because that last move, I think they get a win too. So it's a co-win, right?
So while they're cleaning that up, I have another presentation that I'm going to do, and this one is actually my sophomore product that I'm doing. Let's see, Thursday, and I'm making a robot, and I actually have to build it from scratch and code it from scratch too.
Can you say that so everybody? I want to make sure everybody hears that because that's outstanding.
Because I did this from scratch, everything. Even the building the parts to programming it, and it's taken me over the course of this whole semester, and I'm still trying to do a little bit more coding and stuff before I'm actually done with it. But when it's done, it's going to be able to move on its own, sense its surroundings, and be able to make noises and actually light up and do all sorts of things. So it's going to be
Okay, so lastly, I'm going to talk about the extra class I'm taking, which is a coding course. I struggle sometimes, but I get through it. I wish it was as easy as the ones on the screen, but we actually have to type out what you want to do. So you got to code it yourself, and you don't have little buttons to press. But it's an awesome gift, I guess, that I'm being given from the school, and I'm really glad I was chosen to take it. And the purpose of the class is to create an app at the end of the semester. And the app I want to create is like a social media type for our school only that will send out reminders for tests and certain classes you're in, and it will also give you the opportunity to chat with other classmates and teachers.
So Caitlin, Honesty, Ron, great job. Miss McGinnis, great job in working with these kids. Outstanding young people right here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to our beginning coding students once more for assisting with that. They were troopers. They didn't know about that, but they stepped up and did a great job.
Next item under presentation is our National Black History Month recognition summary from the North County Public Schools. Mrs. Herring.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. This is a presentation highlighting just a few of the ways each school has celebrated Black History Month. Please know that what I share with you tonight is not an exhaustive list, but only a spotlight of what has been taught, learned, and celebrated during the Black History Month at each of our schools. Let me begin tonight with Southeast Elementary. Mrs. Herring's second grade class created a Black History Month mural, which is displayed on the K2 hallway and can be seen in the slide. Every student in every class completed reports on influential African Americans. Each classroom chose one student to present their report as a participant in the Black History Living Museum. Every day during the morning announcements, the school celebrated a Black History moment. Northeast Elementary School celebrated with their Living Black Wax Museum. All students prepared a Black History Month project about a significant African American figure. The students became the person that they researched for a live black wax museum. Students had to know how their chosen person impacted American society and be prepared to share this with others.
I told Mr. Holmes that's the greatest photograph of the
It's
week right there. I
wonderful.
love that.
Northwest Elementary School. The kindergartners read the story Sweet Clara and the Freedom Quilt and made their very own paper quilts. First grade students completed projects on famous African Americans from history, while second grade students also studied a different figure in Black history every day. In addition, each teacher in second grade focused on a particular person and made a mural of the figure. Third grade students were reading about influential African Americans and completed a seesaw slideshow on a person of their choice after reading and researching important facts about their person. The fourth and fifth grade students created keynotes, poster displays, murals, and banner projects centered around influential African Americans. Banks Elementary School. Students at Banks Elementary put their knowledge of Black history on display last Tuesday evening at the annual Banks Black History Walking Museum. Pictured here are just a few of the displays: Black fraternities and sororities, the Divine Nine, Tuskegee Airmen, and the Freedom Trail. Presentations often combined art and technology. LaGrange Elementary. K-1 students enjoyed listening to stories being read to them by their teachers about famous African Americans. Students completed writing activities about Dr. Martin Luther King and related his story to their own dreams. The second graders researched African Americans using epic and information cards. They created biographical reports on chatter picks, while some created booklets on inventors such as Garrett Morgan. The Media Center displayed well-known African Americans, past and present, and their biographies. The media specialists provided interesting facts during all of the morning announcements. Students in the upper grades read about different men and women and created storyboards, bulletin board displays, paper bag puppets, and other projects. In art class, students learned about the famous collage artist Romare Bearden, and they created their own collages. During music, students studied pioneers of jazz, African drama, and learned about the influence of African drumming in today's music. Teachers all over the school at Frink Middle School led different activities and research around the importance of studying Black history and guided students through various forms of research around historical African Americans. For example, ELA teachers tied the curriculum to a narrative essay on Harriet Tubman. Students verified information from the essay and the video using primary source documents. For example, a letter to Harriet Tubman from Frederick Douglass. Then students wrote essays addressing one of Harriet Tubman's most famous quotes. And that quote is, "Every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember, you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars to change the world." ELA teachers also had students reflect on multiple texts. For example, "I have a dream." The students reflected and discussed mood, tone, vocabulary. They created clips from their reflections and displayed them at their parent engagement night. And Frink was kind enough to share 2 of these video clips from their students.
If Martin Luther King Jr. were still alive today, I believe he would say yes in some ways. My dream has been realized, but not in others. Focus for the segregation of schools, public bathrooms, and many other areas have been realized. However, racism still exists in many ways. For example, most churches are still largely divided by race as well as neighborhoods. So for my closing, I believe he would be happy with the few steps forward we have made today, but saddened that we still have so much work to do. Thank you.
go.
That student is here tonight. Let's give her a round of applause. Great job.
If Dr. King were alive today, I think he would be really proud that his dream was realized. We were honored to have an African American president for the first time in 2000. This was a huge accomplishment. Also, due to Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream, higher level education is available for everyone. Today, blacks and whites play sports together, eat together, work together, and worship together. Dr. King had the dream, and I felt it had been fulfilled.
Very good. North Lenoir High School. Band students at North Lenoir have focused on music by black composers. Biology students created keynote presentations on different black scientists who have made significant contributions to the field. World history classes used their SOAR time to highlight black history through different writing activities called Who Would You Rather Shake Hands With? The teachers matched up world black history with local North Carolina black history. Students watched and took notes on video clips from each person or group, and then the students wrote who they would rather shake hands with and why. One week's matchup was Nelson Mandela, regarding apartheid world history, versus the Adkin High School seniors, regarding school segregation, peaceful protest, a walkout, and in Kinston history. Mrs. Berg's ag classes spent some time learning about George Washington Carver and his contributions to the agricultural industry. And Ms. Holland's civics classes read about and compared Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Stockley Carmichael. Additionally, they looked geographically at some of the key events in the civil rights movement. Particularly moving was Mr. Toller and Mr. Fisher sharing with students what it was like growing up during segregation. In addition to participating in the LCC Black History program on February 20th, students from the early college high school studied the Harlem Renaissance and researched African American artists, entertainers, athletes, scientists, educators, entrepreneurs, and doctors. Here's a clip of a student from the early college sharing some of what he learned about W.E.B. Du Bois.
Born on February 23rd in Great Barrington, he attended Harvard University and was a leader who helped his community. Du Bois was like the Shakespeare of his time, opposing the idea that whites were superior, to help with the whites and fight for the rights of his community. Du Bois went the extra mile to fight for the rights of non-whites and to help the ones that needed him. W.E.B. Du Bois worked hard. He fought for the rights of African Americans. He was a wonderful writer and a scholar. He died on August 27, 1963, the day before Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech.
Rochelle Middle School. For the past 12 years, the local Community Council for the Arts has written and received an Arts and Education grant for Rochelle Middle School. This year, the grant gave students and teachers the opportunity to learn and grow through the arts of photography and poetry. The teaching residency artists involved were photographer Jim Lee from Durham, North Carolina, and the first African American North Carolina Poet Laureate, Jackie Shelton Green. The end product will be an exhibit of the students' photographs and their written word, reflecting an understanding of the photographs that they had taken. On April the 8th, Mr. Lee and Mrs. Shelton Green will return to Rochelle Middle School to support students as they discuss their work at an exhibit opening, which will also serve as the basis of the docent program. The exhibit will comprise a permanent exhibit on the walls of Rochelle Middle School. What a special way to celebrate Black History Month with the first African American Poet Laureate for North Carolina. Contivia Savannah School. CSS combined STEM night along with their celebration of Black History Month on Thursday, February 27th. Each grade level was responsible for the research and hands-on models and presentations of specific African American innovators that made major contributions to the field of STEM. Students, along with their projects, were set up all through the hallways, and pizzas were given to families to carry home for supper, and they raffled off a family game set to 2 families. Kinston High School. The Student Government Association of Kinston High School organized a Black History Spirit Week for students and staff the week of February 10th through the 14th. QR codes were posted around the school for students to participate in weekly Black History trivia games with chances to win prizes. Winners were announced during the morning announcements. The pictures in the slides at Lenore County Learning Academy are representative of homeroom classes participating in a door decoration competition. Classes were tasked with finding lesser-known figures from Black history that corresponded with their subject area. The middle school and high school ELA classes focused on informational texts about the contributions of African Americans during the month of February. Biology classes had an ethical discussion about the use of Henrietta Lacks cells and her contributions to medicine. Art classes learned the history of Kent cloth and created their own Kent cloth designs. American History 2 classes studied the Harlem Renaissance and the Great Migration. Pink Hill Elementary. All grades have been reading biographies of famous and influential African Americans and creating visual representations on bulletin boards, posters, and digital reports. Classes have read The Hero Two Doors Down about Jackie Robinson and Of Thee I Sing by President Barack Obama, a letter to his daughters. Teachers have used morning meeting times every day to share how every student is creative, smart, brave, strong, and kind, just like the biographies they have been studying of influential African Americans. Southwood Elementary. Southwood celebrated Black History Month in February by each homeroom class researching and creating its very own wall display outside their door. The displays include a QR code that led students to information about the person, pictures, video, or something that deepened their knowledge about the important person. These wonderful displays served as a walking museum for the entire school. Kindergarten students at Moss Hill Elementary discussed facts and accomplishments of Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, Ruby Bridges, George Washington Carver, Jackie Robinson, and Ida Nelson. The students watched I Have a Dream speech and made Peace Begins With Me necklaces, published a book with their dreams, which is in their reading centers for them now to read, and made a school bus with pictures of them on it in connection to discussing Rosa Parks. First and second grade students had a daily writing activity focused on the research of famous African Americans. And in the third grade, during their library time, students listened to the story Henry's Freedom Box. After listening to the story, students discussed what it would have been like to stay quiet in a box, no talking, coughing, sneezing, or anything for 27 hours. The students then had a chance to get in a box similar to the size of the one Henry would have traveled in. Students researched the life of Henry Box Brown and made a trading card to tell what they learned about his life. They are also completing presentation boards with bottle people projects after researching famous African Americans. 4th and 5th grade used their interactive read-aloud set of author study on Patricia McKissick. Her stories explore truths about African American history. English 2 students at South Lenore High School completed a literary analysis of The Flowers by Alice Walker, a literary analysis of Dr. Martin Luther King's letter from a Birmingham jail, and a literary analysis of Tupac's poetry book, A Rose Grew from Concrete. Art students created works of art based on the work of African American artists Faith Ringgold and Romare Bearden. Black History Month is celebrated every morning by students reading over the intercom at the beginning of each school day important facts pertinent to Black history. Coach Jeremy Joyner and Coach Paul Novicki took student athletes to LCC on February 20th to listen to a retired General J.R. Borum share his experiences and wisdom on the topic How I Got Over. Students studied Langston Hughes and his influence on the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. They discussed Hugh's influential role in American history and literature, and they learned about the role of African Americans in the Spanish-American War, the Buffalo Soldiers, and as Harlem Hellfighters in World War I. Woodington Middle School. 8th grade social studies classes were researched Frederick Douglass and discussed the roles of African Americans during the time of slavery in the United States. Woodington Middle School FFA classes researched Corey Flournoy and George Washington Carver's contributions to the world. Ms. McPhail's classes researched a different Black influencer, an inventor, an athlete, an activist each day and created projects about these people. And Mr. Kennedy's STEM students added slides to their digital portfolios that illustrated accomplishments of African American leaders in STEM. In our pre-K classes, after learning about African Americans who have made a difference in our world, students participated in activities related to that person. For example, after they played baseball after discussing Jackie Robinson, and making their own bus after talking about Rosa Parks. Children in the pre-K program learned about Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech and talked about what they would like to be when they grow up. And last but not least, I bet you are wondering why those eggs are on the slide. The children in our pre-K classes participated in a hands-on activity where they compared brown and white eggs to show that even though they're different on the outside, when they're cracked open, they're exactly the same on this inside, just like people. And that concludes our summary of Black History Month spotlights for Lenore County Schools.
Thank you, Mrs. Herring.
Thank you.
Our next item is our North Carolina Science Olympiad overview. Dr. McLeod.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Mr. Williams shared some of the highlights,
Oh,
but I have.
I'm sorry, Dr. McLeod. I just couldn't resist.
Well, it's great news, and it's exciting that we have a presence in the science world, not only with Science Olympiad, but with coding, and you're going to hear some overlap.
And you have some outstanding stuff that we're not going to talk about tonight, but about science fair and some folks that are moving on to state competition. So, but that will be at next month's board meeting, but we're really, really excited about it. We could get our coding kids back in here.
We should, and actually that, oh, wait a minute, I'm not sharing. Here's my. So February, I call it our Science Month because that is when we do so much with Science Olympiad, both at the elementary, middle, and high school level. So these are just some of the highlights that we'll definitely want you to celebrate and continue celebrating, much like you did with the students here, because we get to send several teams on to the state tournament. But we had 5 middle school tournaments. Well, we've only got 4 middle schools, you guys. So we had our JV team also recognized because CSS had so much interest. Not only did they have a varsity team, but they had a JV team. One of the goals of the Science Olympiad here in Lenore County is to continue growing our participation. We have really opened up the Science Olympiad opportunities to students, but because we can send JV teams, we look forward to having more and more participation. There were 40 teams represented at the LCC tournament, and 9 of those teams were from Lenore County Public Schools.
Just by comparison, you look at those numbers. 6 years ago, we had 3 kids at LCC, 3 kids total, 3 kids total. And you're telling me we've got 20 teams in one category.
Right.
That's outstanding.
It is. It's a significant increase, and we want to continue that because Science Olympiad is an opportunity for students to participate in rigorous academic interscholastic competition. Some of the competitions are hands-on, some are interactive, while others are test and challenging, inquiry-based events, and students really do have to become experts. I did mention that Contentnia Savannah had a JV team. They brought home a first place and a second place. And overall, North Lenoir High School placed in the top 5, and that was a first for us. In the middle school division, Woodington Middle School brought home the Spirit Award. I want to touch on the Spirit Award because that has huge significance. Judges from each of the events have an opportunity to identify teams that exemplify sportsmanship, collaboration, helping each other out, that cooperation, and that is a huge plus, I think, and it says a lot about our students competing with students from Croatan, Dare, Mr. Williams mentioned all the way down to Brunswick County, and our students brought this home, not just in the middle school, but in the high school as well, because the Early College High School was also awarded the Spirit. And you'll see down there that we had over 37 awards given out to Lenoir County Public Schools. The students that you recognized earlier from Rochelle, Woodington, and South Lenoir all earned a spot to compete at the state tournament. The state tournament will be at NC State University on August the 24th and 25th. So they will be representing us at that level. I think that's the most we've had at the state level for the Science Olympiad. The events that they'll be representing are Circuit Lab. The Circuit Lab is a tested and a lab type event. The Boom Lever, which is a building event where they have to have the lightest weight bridge, so they practice some engineering skills. And then Fossils is a tested event, and the students truly become experts in a tested event. The events cover all of the sciences from physical science, earth science, biology, chemistry, physics, and they also include engineering. Our Division A, which is our elementary tournament, was held on February the 17th. And we had over 150 elementary students participating in our elementary tournament. Frank Middle School was our host site, but LaGrange was our elementary school that put it all together. And you'll notice that LaGrange brought our Spirit Award home. Pink Hill won first place overall. Southwood came in second, and Moss Hill came in third. Some of the highlights from the elementary tournament I wanted to spotlight include having the largest number of volunteers. This event, this tournament, hosts 18 different events over 3 different time periods, and each event must have at least 2 adults sponsoring and administering the test and monitoring. But then we have to make sure that the never alone policy of Science Olympiad is upheld, and that means that students are never left alone. So we're transporting students out to the ball field for 3-2-1 blast off, or transporting students to the gym so that they can build a boat out of duct tape that must hold weight but no water. So getting the students from space to space in a new facility or an unfamiliar facility takes lots of hands, and we had over 70 volunteers. So I want to spotlight that. Our Suddenlink partnership was in place for the 2nd year, and Committee of 100 was our 4th year partnership. And without those partnerships, students would have to end up maybe purchasing their own t-shirts, or we would have to do something else for lunch, because we do want the students to be nourished so that they can give us their best in all of their tested
And our business
events.
leaders were on site for this. They were on site this day. I've gotten some really good feedback from the business community on their sponsorship of Science Olympiad, and they're very pleased with what they're seeing.
Suddenlink has been a tremendous, they sent actually 5 volunteers, and those volunteers jumped in, whether it was to take a generator off the truck to help with 321 blast off, or monitoring an event that maybe we had a volunteer that had to leave. So Suddenlink was tremendous. And then the volunteer award went to Miss Lorraine Bell from LaGrange. The volunteer award goes to the person who really puts in that extra effort, that extra time to make it happen. LaGrange, she led her team in making sure that we had over 30 prizes to raffle off for all the coaches. You saw that all of these events require coaches, and these coaches give their time after school because we don't have a dedicated period during the day like some of the schools that we compete against at the high school and middle school level. So our students and our coaches really give of themselves beyond our school day.
Some of the private schools in the region make this a course. This is an actual course in their day.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something, an enhancement piece that we do in addition to the regular curriculum.
Yeah, and it's successful because we have so many teachers that are committed and so many coaches that give of their time to our students, and so I very, very much appreciate that. Next year will be our 5th annual tournament, and Moss Hill has agreed to host our elementary tournament. So those are some updates about how Lenoir County stacks up in the North Carolina Science Olympiad. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Don.
Our next item is Say Something Now app, implementation summary. Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
I've been asked to provide an overview of the Say Something anonymous reporting app that was introduced to our middle and high school students last week and is active in the district now. As you know, the state legislature included development of a statewide anonymous reporting app in its 2018-2019 budget bill. Last May, the NC Department of Public Instruction announced it had contracted with Sandy Hook Promise, a national nonprofit organization, to roll out the app to students this school year. Any summary of the effort involved in launching the app in Lenoir County Public Schools should begin with a word of appreciation to our high school and middle school principals. They have led this process at their schools since September, and last week, in addition to getting done all those things that must get done at school every week, they and their team supervised the introduction of the Say Something program to more than 3,900 students. That's an accomplishment in itself. Say Something provides an app, website, and 24/7 crisis telephone hotline for youth and adults to submit anonymous tips. In addition to introducing students to the technology, the Say Something anonymous reporting system teaches them how to recognize warning signs and signals, especially within social media, of individuals who may be a threat to themselves or others. It encourages them to say something, either by using the app or speaking to a trusted adult before it is too late. Tips are initially fielded by a centralized, multilingual crisis center staffed around the clock by certified counselors. This is a major advantage over anonymous reporting apps previously used in the district. These counselors essentially triage the tips before alerting the response team in our district. Each LCPS middle school and high school has a team of 3 to 5 staff members led by the principal. The district team is made up of Mr. Harvey, EC Department Director Julie Hill, and me. Additionally, our district is linked to the county's 911 dispatch center to assist with tips of the most serious nature. Tips come to the appropriate teams via text and email, and if necessary, team leaders are called. Training for the school and district teams began in September. Cell phone numbers and email addresses for all team members in the district were checked and rechecked. Team members passed a mandatory tip test last month. As students were being introduced to the app through a video last week, the district advised middle school and high school parents and caregivers about the process through a post on each school's Facebook page and by emailing them the Say Something Parent Guide. Board members will find a copy of this brochure attached to your agenda. Say Something is designed to give students another tool for reporting situations that concern them or make them feel uncomfortable, a tool that reduces the fear of reprisal by concealing the tipster's identity. Now that LCPS students have access to the tool, this question is, will they use it? The answer is, they are already using it. A handful of actionable tips have been sent to school and district teams since the app first went live last week. Most impressive, to me at least, is that at one school, 2 students, after watching the Say Something video, didn't use the app to make a tip, but instead went to teachers to talk about personal problems. The strong relationships between our students, our teachers, and school administrators will always be LCPS's best option for helping students and keeping our schools safe. The Say Something app won't replace that person-to-person contact, but it is an effective way for students to connect to people who want to help when those people are not around. I'll be glad to answer any questions about the app, gentlemen.
I just say, I heard someone discussing this on the early morning radio show, maybe last week one day. I don't recall what show it was, but I heard it on the radio, and then I saw it on our agenda.
Right. We're about halfway through in terms of all the districts of North Carolina, we're about in midway in terms of the app being rolled out. So they still have a ways to go, but we're glad to get this behind us and get it active in the district. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. And our last presentation item is our financial report with Mr. Adams.
Thank you, and good evening, board members.
Evening.
The February 2020 financial report summarizes budget and year-to-date activity for all the Norwood County Board of Education funds as of February 29th. Additionally, the report presents the local current expense fund balance for the same date. As you have a chance to review the report, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Under the local, near the very bottom, under local current expense fund balance, it says beginning of year 7/1/18. Is that just because we don't have a new budget? Or is that a typo?
No, sir, that should say 7/1/19.
Okay.
My apologies.
That's fine. I just noticed it was different. Any questions? Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Adams. We'll move on to our action item portion. We have 4 items tonight, and we'll start with our superintendent under the North Carolina School Board Association.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Presented at the last meeting for study with a request for possible action to be taken at a subsequent meeting where the North Carolina School Boards Association policy revisions. These revisions were in response to recent legislative action.
Entertain a motion to accept the policy revisions.
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Davis.
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith. No questions or discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Okay, our next item is our North Lenore High School baseball field. Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. During last month's meeting, we presented a request from North Lenore High School to rename the baseball complex after former student athlete John Alford. Tonight, the item is before you for action.
And you'll recall, as we stated last meeting, that there was a dedication ceremony almost 10 years ago, and there was a monument placed out there with John Alford's likeness on it. It's a large bronze plaque right behind the backstop, and it honors John, his contributions in the state championships, and his contributions as a student athlete at the school. And at that time, the board was observing a ban on naming facilities, and we were given the go-ahead at that time to proceed as far as dedicating the field. So there was a dedication ceremony along with some board members present, superintendent present at that time, and other dignitaries for the dedication. So in some sense, this would be completing that process.
Entertain a motion to name the Northland baseball field the John Alphen Field.
Motion to approve the request to name the Northland High School baseball field after the late John Alphen.
A motion by Mr. Hill,
Second.
second by Mr. Woods. No further discussion or questions. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Third item will be our out-of-state school field trips. Mrs. Herring.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Early College High School is requesting permission to travel to Florida, to Orlando, Florida, December 27th through December 31st of 2020. They'll be attending the Magic Kingdom, the Animal Kingdom Hollywood Studios. It's a student-funded trip. They're doing quite a bit of fundraising between now and then. School will not be in session at that time, so they will not be missing any school.
And I see they did have fundraisers, several
Yes.
fundraisers.
They will have several fundraisers between now and then. And it's, their different clubs will be the ones participating in the trip. The Tech Club, the Young Engineers, Yearbook, Culture Club, SGA Science Olympiad. They're given an opportunity to do backstage tours with Disney. And so they're able to understand the physics of roller coasters and social media platforms to blog and post what their experiences. Lots of CTE careers are actually housed in the workings of Disney. So it'll be actually a really great opportunity. It's under Disney's college program.
Entertain a motion to approve the out-of-state school field trip.
Motion to approve the out-of-state school field trip as presented.
A motion by Mr. Bogan,
Second.
second by Mr. Hill. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Herring. And our last item is Mr. Harvey with our surplus items.
Thanks, sir. The attached items are presented to be considered a surplus. Any proceeds from the sale of these items should be returned to the appropriate department. Yes, child nutrition items and maintenance surplus.
Can't tell what that is.
I was gonna ask you what that third picture was.
It's an artistic display.
Yeah, it really is.
Those are some items that have seen their better days, but they have served their time with this school system.
Nice art display. We approve the maintenance items and the child nutrition items surplus.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Smith.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Davis. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you, gentlemen. And now we'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
I move that the Lenore County Board of Education go into closed session under North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 to prevent disclosure of confidential personnel files, to consult the board's attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege, and to consider matters relating to the initial employment of the individual.
We have a motion by Mr. Hill.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Davis. All in favor of going into closed session at this time, please raise your right hand. Thank you.
23:21.
Mr. Chairman, I need to recuse myself from the personnel report as I have a immediate family member on the
Okay.
report.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. All right, we'll entertain a motion to accept the personnel report and the addendum. A motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Bogan. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, thank you. Motion to adjourn. I have a motion by Mr. Anderson to adjourn, second by Mr. Davis. All in favor of adjourning, please raise your right hand. Thank you very much. We'll see you March the 30th.
36.